heartbeat on our robot. This was one of the new things we added this year, and we're actually going to go into detail on how to do it later in the workshop. But what it was a twitching servo before autonomous and between the autonomous and teleop. That pause where it's your robot sitting there and refs are looking at the field. What it does was a proactive health check on our robot to make sure that everything's running. What we would do basically is send a signal and move this servo back and forth once a second. And the servo was on the last controller on our daisy chain of controllers, so that we knew if it was moving, everything before it was functional, the brick was still sending out signals, that our robot had a very high chance of actually being able to run. If for some reason we didn't see that servo moving, we knew there was something wrong. Our program wasn't running, our brick was frozen, we didn't have power, or some other like I2C lockup in the controllers. So if we didn't see that, we could ask the referees, hey, we don't believe our robot's going to run before the round even starts, and ask them to power cycle our robot. It just improved reliability, and this actually let us go from some match, I think it was in the semifinals of Indiana, all the way through World Festival and up into the Asia Pacific Invitational, never breaking down on the field. Our robot ran every single time. Oh, yeah, I guess I should point out, this would be a good time to point out, unfortunately with the way the rules are written this year, they have prohibited this kind of thing. They say you're not allowed to be, your robot is not allowed to be moving before autonomous or in between autonomous and teleop.
They further specify that you're allowed to send a single command to a servo to set its position before autonomous and teleop, but purely prohibiting multiple signals to it.
Yeah. So what we have begun a conversation with the game design committee, and we're trying to get this rule amended to allow this kind of heartbeat, because we found it dramatically increases reliability. Actually, is this where we... Okay, this is actually what the heartbeat is. It's just that one servo moving back and forth, entirely contained within the robot. It never leaves the perimeter of the robot, and it just sits there twitching back and forth. That is enough to tell us that our robot's going to run. Anything else on this? No?
One quick question.
Yeah.
You said prior to teleop, is that, I didn't realize, is that a point where the ref can actually step in and...
Yes. So there is a pause after autonomous and before teleop. And in that time, your teleop program on your NXT has started, and it's hit that wait for start command in teleop. And your robot, that is a time where if robots have gotten tangled with each other in autonomous, flipped over, referees will generally separate robots and make sure everything is ready to go for teleop. And if you know in that time, say your robot was supposed to run in autonomous and it didn't, and now you see your heartbeat isn't there, you know, okay, I've got a problem. I need to power cycle my robot, or I'm not going to run in teleop.
I'd like to ask Joe again if he remembers where we found out that you were allowed to ask for a power cycle between autonomous and teleop.
Yeah, so we actually discovered that in our bowled over season, after we had just lost in the finals at the World Championship, our robot sat dead in one of the matches. It got hung up in autonomous, the NXT froze, and our robot sat there through the entire teleop match. So it was 1-on-2 for us. And we lost that match, which ended up causing us to lose the World Championship 2 years ago. And afterwards, the referee, the head ref, actually came up to me and told us that if we had asked him, we could have power cycled our robot and potentially run our robot during teleop. So and I didn't know that was a rule. It kind of upset me at the time because he didn't say anything during the match, but it was fair for him not to say anything because it would have given us a potential advantage. So now it's just something to be aware of, that you can ask the referees to power cycle your robot between autonomous and teleop, and it may change the outcome of a match. You don't know.